Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you work in fabrication, construction, or you're just tackling some serious DIY projects, you already know the angle grinder is basically your best friend. It's incredibly versatile. But let's be honest, it is also incredibly unforgiving. Today, we are going to master a highly structured, life-saving system to ensure every single cut and grind you make is a safe one. Okay, let's dive into this. Before you even touch that power switch, before you even lift the tool off the workbench, you have got to ask yourself one absolutely critical question. Is this truly the right tool for the job? I mean, just because an angle grinder is sitting right there doesn't automatically mean it's the correct piece of equipment to use. It sounds totally basic, right? But bypassing this exact question is where the chain of accidents almost always begins. Because man, if things go south, the consequences are severe. And they happen in a fraction of a second. We are talking deep cuts. We're talking flying fragments hitting you like literal shrapnel, devastating eye injuries, uncontrollable flash fires, and of course, violent kickback, where the machine literally fights back and wrenches itself out of your hands. These aren't just theoretical warnings in a manual. These are grim realities that bite the second we lose respect for the tool. So, to keep us out of the ER, we'll be following a strict 5-step life-saving checklist today. We're going to cover Essential 1, tool and disc, Essential 2, guard and handle, Essential 3, secure the workpiece, Essential 4, control the area, and finally, Essential 5, protect and stop. Let's get right to it. Starting off with Essential 1, tool and discs. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how easily you can visually spot a bad setup. A safe setup means your disc is perfectly matched to your material, whether you're working with metal, stone, concrete, or ceramic. But crucially, the max speed stamped right there on the disc has to be equal to or higher than the max speed of your grinder itself. Look closely at the red flags on the right side. If that disc is cracked, if it's deformed, if it got wet, or even if you just dropped it on the floor, it's an immediate hazard. And here's a massive red flag. If the expiry date is passed, or, and this is a big one, if you simply cannot read the speed marking anymore, chuck it in the trash. It really is that simple. Which brings us to our very first zero tolerance mantra. Burn this into your brain. Wrong disc, no use, period. There is absolutely no middle ground here. Moving right along to Essential 2, guard and handle. Now we're talking about the physical tool itself, and this setup is absolutely everything when it comes to keeping control. That guard must be fitted, adjusted, and locked in to deflect sparks and flying fragments away from your body. And listen, you must never, ever take that guard off just to work a little faster or to reach into a tight corner. It is just not worth it. Beyond the guard, the side handle has to be attached so you actually have two-handed control over all that torque. You also want to quickly inspect the cable, the battery or plug, the switch, and the flanges locking the disc. Oh, and if your gear has safety features like a dead man switch that instantly cuts power if you drop it, or an anti-kickback system, you absolutely need to be using them. As you can see here, a proper setup is tight, secure, and fully equipped. But the second you spot a red flag like a loose or incorrectly positioned guard, a missing handle, a frayed cable, or a sticky switch, that is a hard stop. You've also got to trust your gut and your senses here. If the grinder starts vibrating abnormally or making some weird new noise, that is a massive warning sign. Halt the work immediately. And that brings us to our second hardline rule. No guard, no use. If that guard isn't there and perfectly adjusted, you do not pull that trigger. No exceptions. Which takes us to Essential 3. Secure the workpiece. This is all about how you handle the material itself. A secure, safe cut happens when your material is locked down tight with clamps or a vise on a solid bench. This frees you up to keep your body safely out of the grinder's line of fire, meaning you are not standing directly in the path of the disc or in the likely direction of a kickback. On the flip side, never attempt to cut or grind a loose or handheld piece of material. Holding a metal pipe in one hand and the grinder in the other, no way. That is practically an invitation for severe injury. You should never align your body with the disc. And whatever you do, never force or twist the tool inside the cut. That twisting motion is exactly what causes a violent jam. So here's our third drumbeat rule. Say it with me. Unsecured workpiece, no use. If it can wiggle, move, or slip, you don't cut it. Next up, Essential 4, control the area. Now we're zooming out a bit. Angle grinders are inherently chaotic. I mean, they blast out extreme heat, dust, flying debris, and a literal shower of sparks. So before you start, you've got to stop and look around. Clear the area of anything combustible: cardboard, paper, plastics, aerosols, or flammable liquids. You also have to actively aim your spark stream away from your coworkers, cables, gas cylinders, and definitely away from explosive ATEX zones. If you're in a fire risk area, make sure you've got your hot work permits and a fire watch sorted out. And hey, don't forget the invisible dangers. If you're cutting concrete or stone, you are whipping up toxic silica dust. You've got to use extraction vacuums or wet cutting methods to handle that. A safe cut happens in a clean, controlled environment with your permits active. But if you ignore those environmental red flags, like sparks just raining down toward a box of oily shop rags or blowing huge clouds of uncontrolled dust everywhere, you can turn a simple 30-second task into a catastrophic fire or a massive explosion. Completely unprotected work areas are warning signs you just cannot afford to ignore. And finally, we arrive at Essential 5, protect and stop. This brings it all back to you, the operator. Your personal protective equipment, or PPE, is literally your very last line of defense. We're talking a face shield over safety glasses, hearing protection, heavy-duty gloves, close-fitting clothes, proper safety boots, and respiratory gear if there's dust. Absolutely no loose clothing, no dangling jewelry, no hoodie strings that could suddenly get sucked into a disc spinning at thousands of RPMs. Procedurally, you have to let that disc spin up to its absolute maximum speed before it ever touches the metal. Never force the tool, never use a thin, flat cutting disc to grind sideways, and here is a huge one: wait for that disc to come to a complete, total stop before you put the tool down. And this brilliantly illustrates our final set of red flags. These are behavioral, right? Working without a full face shield, wearing baggy clothes, forcefully leaning your body weight into a cut, or that incredibly dangerous, impatient habit of just tossing the grinder down onto the bench while the wheel is still spinning. That thing can catch traction and shoot across the table right at you. These bad habits drastically increase your chances of an accident. So, what does this all mean? What happens if you run through these 5 essential checks: tool, guard, workpiece, area, and protection, and the answer to even one of them is no? Well, you execute this exact 3-step protocol. Step 1, stop the work immediately. Just stop. Do not proceed. Step 2, correct the unsafe condition. Swap out the bad disc, clear those rags away, clamp the metal down. Step 3, report it. Tell your team so everyone can learn from the hazard. So the crucial point is, a serious angle grinder injury rarely starts at the actual cut. It starts way earlier. It starts when a wrong disc is just kind of accepted, or a guard is lazily popped off just to save 2 minutes. It starts when you don't bother to clamp a workpiece, or when you ignore a stray spark flying into a pile of oily rags. Keep these 5 essentials dialed in, and always, always respect the tool. The next time you grab that grinder, I want you to ask yourself, is saving 30 seconds of setup time really worth risking your eyesight, or even your life? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay safe out there, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic with you soon.